What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to tell you what the 5 best decks in the Twist format are. There was a nerf and buff to a bunch of the health totals of some of the decks, and those have affected the meta, but not as much as you may think. So today I'm going to give you 5 of the best decks, best performing decks, and I'll give you 2 honorable mentions as well. The last deck I talk about will be the best. Remember, prior to this health change, Arfus was hands down the best deck in the format, and it has something like an 80% play rate and just ridiculous win rates of like above 70%. But now the health total has dropped down to 25 instead of 35, so that has had an effect on the meta. But we're going to get into it. But first, before that, I want to talk about 2 decks that just barely missed the cut. One of those was Kel'Thuz's Sunstrider. So this deck is pretty interesting. It revolves around this hero power, this passive hero power that every turn you get a spell that you could play. And then its ability is cards that don't start in your deck cost 1. The deck is this kind of deck where you just generate a lot of extra cards. And this deck just barely missed the cut of the top 5 decks, in my opinion. It's hovering around like a 48% win rate at Diamond through Legend, which is what I've used as the basis to pick the card, because I think if you're hitting Diamond, you have a relatively good understanding of the game, and obviously Legend players probably likely have a pretty good understanding of the game as well. So if the deck is performing well at that ranks, then I'm making the conclusion that the deck is doing pretty well. And Kel'Thuz is just missing the cut at 49%. It is an interesting deck though. Like if you like to play mage, you definitely should play it. Another deck that just missed the cut, and a deck that I truly enjoy, is Zul'jin. This is a secret-based deck. As I discussed before, the hero power is 2 mana, discover a secret that costs 1, and it costs 1 less. But he also has this ability: whenever you play a secret, you summon a 2/2 Berserker. And when you look at the cards, we have every secret known to man. We have Mad Scientist. We have Hydrologist. We got Cloaked Huntress. We have the Rider. We have like all these ways to cheat secrets in the game, which makes this just like, a secret player's dream come true. The problem is that this passive ability does not activate when you cheat secrets. It only activates if you play the secret. So either using the hero power and playing it for 1, or, just hard casting the secret from the hat. So that's kind of like an anti-synergy, and I think maybe if that synergy were real, then this class would be really, really broken, but it's not. And quite frankly, this just loses to both Death Knight decks very, very hard. And as a result, it's it's around a 49%, 50% win rate. This deck actually does really well at low levels. Well, levels before Diamond Legend. And I think part of that is primarily people just don't know how to play around different type of secrets and options at that level. And as you get higher in the ranks, people tend to be able to play around the most game-winning options better. And that's why the win rate kind of drops off once you get to about Legend. So this deck just barely misses the cut. The 5th best deck in the format, I would say, is Force Warden Onu. I don't play this deck. I don't have it. But stats say that this deck is pretty good. The hero power is 1 mana, get a 2/2 Treant. And the ability is after you summon a Treant, you adapt it randomly, which can, obviously win you the game in some situations. And the deck there's 2 token lists, and this is the 2nd token list. The other one is the Warlock one that revolves around getting Cthulhu out. This one revolves around a simple plan of making a big board and then just buffing it, right? So I think this is a pretty good deck if you like that playstyle. Personally, I don't like that playstyle, and obviously I can't craft it. I think this deck plays really well into the new Arfus, and which is why it's tracking really, really well. So that's our 5th best deck. I would say Nozdormu kind of comes right up there as well. So Nozdormu, you start with the extra mana crystal, so you get the wild growth to start the game, but your turns only take 30 seconds. And his hero power is to draw a dragon and make it cost 1 less. So basically, you're paying 2 mana to draw a card, and then well, to draw a dragon and then, play it for 1 mana, right? Basically, that's what it is. This deck is pretty cool. It's kind of mid-rangey, so this loses to decks like to Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter are very aggressive archetypes like pirates. So that's its kind of weakness, and I actually don't think that this deck beats Arfus. And in this meta, look, Arfus is still the best deck in the format, okay? Spoiler, it is still the best deck in the format, and if you want to climb the ranks, you have to beat Arfus. So anyway, this is the fourth best deck in my opinion in the format. At third, we have, where is he? Alakir the Windlord. This deck is pretty awesome, and the main reason why this deck is so good is because it beats Arfus hands down. Like, it has a really, really good matchup against Arfus. So basically, this is an Elemental Shaman deck, and its end game are these dropping legendaries on the higher end of the curve, but it doesn't win because of these legendaries. It wins because of this ability. So after you play a legendary elemental, call upon the power of an element, which gives you like 6 damage from the hand or 8 damage from the hand spell, whatever it is. And this is how you beat Arfus, like turn 7, turn 8. You're playing a legendary for a couple turns, and then your follow-up turn is throwing somewhere between 6 to 18 damage at the face. And it's useful. So I do think this is a good deck, and this hero power is actually really, really strong for fighting for the board. So it does lose to the next deck, which I believe is the second best deck in the format, and that is the Lich King. The Lich King is a really, really simple corpse spending type of build. So its ability is very similar to what the existing hero power is for Death Knight, but slightly stronger, obviously. Also, this passive is every time you spend corpses, you summon a skeleton with stats equal to the number of corpses spent. So if you spent 3 corpses to use, what is that called? Where is that card? Like if you spend 3 or 4 corpses to use Malignant Horror, then you'll also get a 4/4. Or if you used it with the Corpse Bride and you use 10 corpses, you'll also get a second 10/10. So this is a very simple to play, very linear plan, and it is quite strong. You have these early game. Remember, this deck has doubles of a lot of good stuff. So you have the consistency of making sure that you start out early in the game with body baggers and arms dealers. You can use your hero power pretty liberally just to build up on corpses. And as you get to the middle game, you're able to throw out, like this card, Malignant Horror. This is the game winner. Like, this is probably the best win condition. I really wish this card was still in standard. It's an exceptional card. Really draws out a lot of your opponent's resources. But this deck is pretty sick. It beats up many of the good decks out there. And it has a pretty even fight against Arfus. It also beats a lot of the counters. So I find this deck to be pretty strong. This is the deck that I'm currently playing. I swap between the Lich King and the Zul'jin, but quite frankly, Zul'jin is just, if you have to play into Arfus or even into the Lich King, you're gonna have a rough night. So yeah, I would consider this the second best deck in the format. And the best deck in the format, is no surprise. It is still is Arfus. Its health got nerfed to 25, but, until they change the way the excavate mechanic for this deck works, I think it's still going to be top dog. So right now, Arfus, when you excavate the legendary treasure, it is only the Mage legendary, the Death Knight legendary, or the Warrior legend, or the Warlock. So there's the only 4 classes where it can pull the legendary treasure from. So that means you get a Titan, you get the Rat, you get the Snake, or you get, the Crazy Warrior Battlecry one. All options are really, really strong and backbreaking when you're dropping it on turn 4 or 5. Now, they are saying that they're going to add the Shaman and Paladin rewards to this card. But quite frankly, I don't know if that does enough, to be honest. The Shaman one could obviously be backbreaking since it changes all the cards on the deck. But, the Paladin one, that's not a big of a deal. Like, the reason why this deck wins is because every turn you play your rune cards in order, then you generated extra value. And that's why it wins. Because, you're just getting like an extra 8, or, somewhere between 4 to 8 extra cards off of Excavate Treasures. And that can be very, very challenging to deal with. The deck itself is just powerful. Like, really, you got to rush this deck down and hope that you beat them before they stabilize with Excavate. Because, this deck just got a great curve. Like, you're pulling into a Reska, Primus, Patchwork. Like, it is quite a strong deck. Like I said, I don't even know if changing the legendary, the way the legendary pool for the Excavate reward really helps. So I would say it is the best deck in the format. Quite frankly, I do not like to play it. I find it quite boring, but I don't know. So for, my situation is different from many of you. Like, if you're looking to, just get the legend or whatever, then play the best deck in the format. It is still Arfus. This deck is still something like 60% of the ladder plays this deck or something ridiculous. That's amazing, okay? So, if you're down for those mirrors and if you're down for this type of gameplay, then play it. It's a good deck. It is pretty fun, and it's very, very strong. My situation, I'm really trying to farm the Death Knight wins, so I don't mind playing Arfus, but I also kind of want to mix it up. So, I'm trying to farm Death Knight, Hunter, and Demon Hunter wins. So, I'm playing Lich King, Zul'jin, Arfus, and what I really want to play, which I just have not been able to play, is Illidan, which I think is really, really good, but just does not exist because of Arfus. So that's my deck recommendations. So let me know what decks you're playing in a Twist format. Maybe there's something that I haven't, mentioned that, maybe some resident sleeper deck that's really strong. Like Brand Bronzebeard, to me, feels pretty strong and is underrated, but the stats don't show that. So that's the reason why I'm not, showing you that list today. But yeah, try it out. I hope you have fun, and I hope you continue to climb and do well. See you next time.